This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Price dropped. Ottawa slashes Confederation Bridge tolls and ferry rates in Atlantic Canada. A Nova Scotia court program looks to counseling to stop domestic violence. And a new initiative, a mobile outreach team hits the road in Cumberland County.
The hot and humid temperatures continue for Tuesday and into Wednesday. Some relief late week. The full forecast is coming up.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is making good on an election campaign promise. The federal government is slashing tolls on the Confederation Bridge and lowering ferry fares across Atlantic Canada. Here in Nova Scotia, that means starting Friday, half-price ferry rides to PEI between Digby and St. John and from Cape Breton to Newfoundland. The CBC's Wayne Thibodeau reports from PEI.
It's always a good day when you wake up on Prince Edward Island. It's true. You're here. And today is an especially good day. It's a big day.
Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal government announced today it's slashing tolls on the Confederation Bridge and lowering ferry fares across eastern Canada. A move he says will pump millions of dollars back into the Canadian economy.
And the costs of the bridge and the ferry don't just fall on tourists. They make it more expensive for businesses of all sizes.
Starting Friday, tolls on the Confederation Bridge will be slashed to $20 from about $50. Taking the ferry will also be a lot cheaper. Those fares will be cut in half for the next 4 years on routes between PEI and Nova Scotia, PEI and Île-de-Madeleine, St. John, New Brunswick and Digby, Nova Scotia, and between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland and Labrador.
We are cutting tolls and ferry fares. And in doing that, we are breaking down interprovincial trade barriers that divide our markets and limit our nation's economic potential.
But all of this comes at a big cost to taxpayers. More than $100 million a year to offset the costs of the tolls for bridge and ferry operators.
If we're going to build a stronger, more united economy, and we are doing that, we are going to need to make it more affordable to travel around this country for people and for businesses. And that's what we're doing today.
PEI's premier calls this a big win, one that will make life more affordable for all islanders.
What's not to like? We've been pushing for this forever. It's been 28 years that we've paid outrageous tolls on that bridge behind us, and this is going to save Prince Edward Islanders tens of millions of dollars, literally. It's a great day. I have been pushing for this since the day I landed in this role, and I'm very happy today, and I think everybody in Prince Edward Island should be.
Almost 1 million vehicles drove across the Confederation Bridge last year. More than 90% of all passenger and commercial traffic to and from the island. Transport officials say they're still finalizing the terms of their agreement. Tolls on this bridge will be frozen at $20 for the next 7 years. Premier Rob Land says he'll take that as a win, but he says he'd still like to see tolls eliminated entirely. He says he hopes that will happen in 2032 when Strait Crossing hands this bridge back over to the federal government. Wayne Thibodeau, CBC News, Borden Carlton.
Many in Digby were pleasantly surprised by today's news. The CEO of West Nova Chamber of Commerce says more affordable prices on the Fundy Rose ferry to St. John will positively impact both tourism and business in the area.
For the truckers, this is huge. And we will be shipping across Canada more and more coming through this port. This is an opportunity to grow Canada. Our government is spot on about building Canada and making it strong, and this is part of it, and really happy to see that happen.
Well, Ryan Snoddon is back from vacation, and days like this don't make it easy, do they?
No, definitely not. And if you're lucky enough to be on vacation this week, it is looking like a great one. We'll see some shower and thunderstorm chances. Of course, it's summer. The heat and humidity really at its peak early this week, including today. High temperatures, 30 in Antigonish and high 20s kind of across the board, 30 at Keji as well. The heat warnings do continue as we roll into Tuesday, minus the Tri-County area. the province under that heat warning over the next couple of days. And yeah, we're right back in the high 20s, low 30s on tap for your Tuesday. And it is looking like a terrific day. Maybe a bit of a sluggish start, but it looks like mostly sunny skies into the afternoon. And with the humidex values, we're going to be feeling into the low to mid 30s. Now, as we roll through the week, we will be watching a couple of chances for some much needed wet weather. And we will be looking for Tuesday, quiet, but Tuesday evening into the overnight, maybe a couple of sprinkles, likely not going to amount to a whole lot. Wednesday, our next frontal boundary approaches, and it also looks like one that will likely just bring a couple of isolated showers. It's Thursday that'll bring our best chance of some of that wet weather. And on the other side of that front, we are going to be seeing the winds shift and a big drop in that humidity. And so as we track the muggy meter throughout the week, yeah, we're going to be feeling it over the next couple of days. Not oppressive, that's the good news, but really tapering off as we roll towards that all-important long weekend. We'll talk about that long weekend forecast in just a few minutes. Amy?
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Well, police in Nova Scotia have reported a disturbing trend in the number of deaths resulting from intimate partner violence in the last year. One of the province's tools being used to push that back includes the domestic violence courts in Sydney and Halifax. The Halifax Domestic Violence Court also reported it saw an uptick in cases this spring. Shayna Luck has the story.
One of the tools in use in Nova Scotia to try to reduce intimate partner violence happens every Wednesday afternoon in the Spring Garden Road Courthouse. The court says it saw an increase in applications this spring. There was a roughly 30% spike in applications over the same period last year. The program uses counseling and therapy to try to stop violence and repair harm.
I think some victims may be of the view that they're only doing this so they won't get a record and they're getting out of a real consequence.
Legal aid lawyer Matthew Dara represents many of the accused people.
They're unpacking a lot of things, talking about very personal matters, making significant changes.
Last year, the Sydney court accepted 74 people into the program. By comparison, the Halifax court has seen more than 1,100 applications to the program over the last 7 years. About 18% of those people weren't accepted, either because they went back to regular court or the court felt their cases were too risky for the program. Another 9% of people entered the program but were removed, usually because they weren't attending counseling or doing the work. The court's dedicated Crown attorney, Jennifer Cruz, says that's a group decision.
We will address those as a team on a case-by-case basis. There may be scenarios where there are additional supports that can be put into place to support the individual.
Researchers have tried to measure whether domestic violence courts reduce the likelihood of people reoffending. But this researcher says that's a tough question.
And it's unfortunately one that is very hard to answer because it takes a very long time to follow people after they've, gone through a court process.
Crocker says the domestic violence court is a good idea, but it should be supplemented by supports in the community that could help people before they have to go through the criminal justice system. Shayna Luck, CBC News, Halifax.
A mobile outreach team is on the road in Cumberland County. As the CBC's Luke Ettinger reports, it's a new tool for police and community groups to address the drug and overdose crisis.
This 7-seat SUV is helping a new mobile outreach team connect Cumberland County's most vulnerable to addiction care, harm reduction supplies, and other supports. The town of Amherst received almost $365,000 in federal funding for the initiative. The mobile outreach team hit the road in June and is being led by the Cumberland Homelessness and Housing Support Association.
We want to make sure that when someone shows up and says, I want to go into treatment, we get the opportunity to provide that for them and provide access.
Legier says 3 jobs were created as a result of the funding, and the lived experience of some hires will be key to their peer support positions.
So we were able to hire someone who went from crisis to stability, housing, from homelessness to housing, and now is able to support individuals who he may not that long ago have had been living with or supported by himself.
It's a joint effort with the town, YMCA, Amherst Police Department, and Nova Scotia Mental Health and Addictions.
Very often the police get called on to provide some of these services, but now we have an opportunity to have people that are in the business, that know the business, that are able to provide the services directly on an emergency basis.
The outreach team is already alleviating pressure on Amherst police resources, according to their chief.
We're always going to be there to help as well, but we just can't provide that in-depth assistance that people often need. So when it comes to somebody who's in crisis, this is someone, a person that can come along, can sit with them, help them at the hospital, help them, pick out certain resources, all those different things that are available.
The team is part of a growing number of support services in the border town. An integrated youth services site operated by YMCA and IWK opened earlier this year. And Legier's team is also working to open an emergency youth shelter, in addition to 10 emergency beds and 6 supportive housing units for adults. Luke Ettinger, CBC News, Amherst.
Caps to international student enrollment might push some universities into a deficit, but many are expressing concerns about the cap's broader impact. The federal government announced new limits on international student permits last year. The president of Cape Breton University says the reduction will impact the university, but also change the identity of the community at large.
To be able to converse, to work, to play, to socialize with different people from all around the world. And now that many of them are not going to be here, I think culturally that hurts us as a university and as a community.
Dingwall adds this could create a skilled worker shortage, as some universities across the country are anticipating a 50% drop in enrollment. The federal immigration minister has indicated her department will meet with post-secondary institutions throughout the summer. A popular art gallery and community hub in downtown Dartmouth will close this week. The Dart Gallery is leaving after more than a decade on Portland Street. It was one of the first businesses to help kickstart a revitalization of the area. CBC's Haley Ryan has that story.
Jane McDougald has spent days carefully taking down artwork from the purple walls of her gallery, packing away more than a decade of memories. After 12 years on Portland Street, the Dart Gallery will close its doors this week. McDougald says she was surprised when her landlord recently decided not to renew her lease.
It was awful. It was crushing because I've put a lot into making this space, what it is.
The landlord told CBC he tried to work with McDougald, but they could not come to an agreement about lease terms. Besides a place to find local art, the gallery's Red Room became a hub for everything from music and comedy to beauty events.
I wanted to create a really vibrant, welcoming space that feels good to be in.
There have been an outpouring of messages from people who say McDougald more than achieved that.
She was just so supportive of, downtown Dartmouth when nobody else was. It's just really sad.
Tim Rosesco of the Downtown Dartmouth Business Commission says the gallery was an important venue for community gatherings and will leave a hole on Portland Street.
She was one of the first in a wave of young female entrepreneurs that helped rejuvenate downtown Dartmouth. So to see it evolving this way right now is disappointing.
I've met so many wonderful, talented, kind people, and it's really been a privilege. So I'll miss seeing everyone as often, but I'm not really going to go anywhere. I just won't be here anymore.
McDougald says the gallery website will keep offering local art, and she hopes to explore a community land trust like the one set up in Toronto's Kensington Market. In that case, community members bought properties to prevent long-term residents and small businesses from being pushed out of the unique area. Is the hope to one day bring back the Dart Gallery in another spot in downtown Dartmouth?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we'll see, hopefully. Yeah.
Haley Ryan, CBC News, Dartmouth.
Still in Dartmouth, another iconic local business has narrowly avoided having to close its doors. Last week, we told you that John W. Dewell bookseller was facing an eviction from their location on Main Street. The store needed between $15,000 and $20,000 to pay for outstanding rent and next month's rent. Books were discounted by 40% to bring people out. In a post on its website, the business thanked the people for the outpouring of support and said they can stay open for at least another month. The bookstore has operated in Halifax and Dartmouth since 1987. What a beautiful sight that is. Ryan is up next with the full weather forecast. Do stay with us.
This weather update is brought to you by Access Wellness Nova Scotia. Book your appointment today for free, confidential mental wellness support.
All right, so a very hot one today, and it sounds like it's going to continue.
Yeah, that's right. I think really peaking here today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and then really sliding off a Thursday into Friday. Now, it'll still be warm, but it won't be the hot stuff that we're looking at out there this evening. Even it's very, very warm. Have a look at this webcam shot. This is live video from Lunenburg. And yes, always
folks out and about.
Always a beautiful spot. The summer, of course, just peak Lunenburg season, isn't it?
Yep.
You can see that, it looks like it's a few folks on the go there this evening, and temperatures in Lunenburg right now, right in and around, well, depends how, of course, close you are to the coast. And right now it looks like temperatures right around 19 or 20 degrees in Lunenburg. Now, across the province today, really it has been all about that sea breeze and how close folks have been to it. That Atlantic coastline, that is really going to be the name of the game again for tomorrow. The closer you are to the coast, the cooler temps you're going to feel as you work your way towards the north. Now, there's a bit of an onshore breeze here, places like Caribou Point, that Pictou Caribou Point station, 23. Cheticamp also 23. The winds are going to be more southwesterly tomorrow, so the temperatures will be warmer here along that north shore. Now, as we look at the dew point values, we're right in that mid to high teen range, so noticeable humid, yes, but for the most part we've been below that oppressive range, below 20 in terms of those dew point values, but still feeling into the low to mid 30s for many cases, at the very least high 20s when you do factor in the humidity. Backing things out, this is the first system we're going to be dealing with. A couple of showers with this over the next couple of days, really Wednesday and later Tuesday perhaps, but more so Wednesday, as we'll walk you through the forecast here. But this is the next system that we're going to be watching that will bring our best chance of some much needed moisture on Thursday. Temperatures across Canada right now, a little cool out west actually, and then as you can see, really surging through the heat in the Great Lakes and out towards the Maritimes, and of course we're tapping into that. Now as we look at our overnight lows tonight, temperatures are going to be between about 16 and 19 degrees, so a warm night with that humidity. We'll say uncomfortable sleeping. Now, as we look at the forecast overnight, note that the fog patches are going to roll in, that low-level cloud, and it'll take a little time to get the engine chugging on Tuesday, but once we do, we'll mix out to a mostly sunny day. But the clouds will likely be a little more dominant in the morning, so a heads up on that. And then into the afternoon, yes, just a really, really nice day. Onshore flow for the Tri-County area. A couple of very isolated showers possible later Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday evening in the northeast of the province. Not even enough to put it in the icons here, but the potential is there just for a few spits. Keep that in mind. Onshore flow canceled towards Richmond County. This is where temps are going to be capped around 20. Inland Cape Breton, temperatures nicely into the 26, 27, 28 range. Antigonish right near 30 tomorrow. Pictou County, likely a few backyards in the 30 range. Same thing in through Truro, back into the Enfield area. There's that onshore flow. Metro will be really variable between 20 along the coast with that southwest flow to mid-20s, not too far inland. A similar story along that south shore. If you're along the coast, it's going to be cooler. Work your way inland. Bridgewater near 28, Kedzie back near 30 tomorrow, and Yarmouth right near 21. But inland Yarmouth County will be into the high 20s also. There are those few little spits of showers possible for Tuesday night. Now we're Wednesday, and you can see Wednesday, mostly sunny skies again. Directing your attention to this frontal boundary approaching in through New Brunswick. Now, this particular model showing it in New Brunswick, but a couple others showing that we'll see some activity developing here Wednesday afternoon across the north and east of the province. So still some uncertainty with that. We'll circle back right now. Isolated risk. Bridgewater, the spine of Nova Scotia up towards the northeast and into Cape Breton. Overall, though, it looks like that will likely hold until Wednesday night in through Thursday, and this will be our greatest chance. Still not looking like a whole lot. Will leave us wanting more, but any little bit will help at this point. And you can see the muggy meter really dropping off as we work our way towards the all-important weekend. So yes, those showers Thursday, lingering chance for showers for Friday. It looks like a clear out through Saturday as that system's going to be just off to the south with temperatures bumping up as we roll our way into Sunday and Monday. Amy.
Well, it is shaping up. All right. Thanks for that, Ryan.
Thank you.
A museum in the Annapolis Valley is showcasing how wedding dresses have evolved throughout history. The CBC's Allie Thompson recently visited the McDonald Museum in Middleton to learn about how matrimonial attire has changed and how people from different cultures dress for their big day.
They say you only wear it once, but some wedding dresses deserve a second look. More than 40 gowns are on display in Middleton, Nova Scotia this summer, each with their own story to tell of fashion, culture, and the moments that mark a lifetime.
Tell me about this dress here. It's tiny.
It's very tiny. It's from 1880. It's the Pinio wedding dress. It was first worn by May Irene Pinio in 1880, and it's our oldest dress in the collection. Her niece, May Pinio, wore the dress in 1909, and then her great niece, Barbara May Pinio, wore the dress in 1937. She also wore the dress in 1977 for her 40th wedding anniversary.
Wow, so 3 generations wore this dress, and
Yes.
one bride wore it twice.
Yes, she did. So this wedding dress was worn by Jane Kemp when she married Reverend Duncan Anderson in Scotland in 1850. It was more common to wear dark colors, for one thing because it would hide the dirt or stains. And they would often wear the dress multiple times after the wedding. Queen Victoria introduced the white wedding dress, and it became a tradition in England and Western Europe. And then this one is part of our wick wire collection, and that was worn by Marguerite Brown when she married James Leander Wickwire of Middleton in 1930. So you will see her flapper-style dress and the cloche hat that she wore.
And it's pink.
Yes, who wouldn't love pink?
Were people wearing pink wedding dresses at this time?
I think they wore pretty much whatever they wanted to, whatever they felt comfortable with, and she seemed to have a passion for pink.
So this is Cheryl Anderson, who happened to be here, and this is your wedding dress. Tell me about your wedding dress.
Well, we were being married Valentine's Day, and it was going to be a very low budget wedding. I went shopping in the local women's store up in Kingston, KC Marshalls it was, and there was this perfect dress on the $35, well within my budget. I mean, it certainly is a product of its time. It's a polyester knit, of all things, with a marabou trim. The Trudeaus got married the year before, I believe it was, and Margaret Trudeau was very notably wearing a hooded marabou trimmed wedding dress, so I think I may have copied her. What you see is what lasted, it's 50 years this February that I wore that.
This is from a couple married in 2019. This dress was designed by the bride to reflect her Pakistan and her Indian culture, and the jacket is all hand beaded.
And what do we have here?
And this couple were married in 2015 in China, in a traditional Chinese wedding. Red is for good fortune and prosperity.
So we've seen some dresses that are hundreds of years old, but this type of dress would predate all of them.
It certainly would. This is a Mi'kmaq wedding dress. It is a reproduction made for a television series in 1980. It is made of deer hide. The cape is rabbit fur, and the dress is decorated with mussel shells and metal cones, and it also has matching moccasins. I think people should come to see it to see the changes that have happened in fashion. I think it's also good to learn about other cultures and what they wear and why, and just to sort of catch a glimpse of the time frames throughout Nova Scotia and the decades that we're trying to reflect.
Coming up, cutting the fare for the Digby ferry by 50%. We speak with the deputy mayor about what that means for the town. federal government is slashing tolls on the Confederation Bridge and lowering ferry rates in eastern Canada. Prime Minister Mark Carney made the announcement Monday morning in PEI. Paul Saunier is deputy mayor of the town of Digby. The Digby to St. John, New Brunswick ferry will see a 50% drop in fares. First off, I'm wondering, did this come as a surprise?
To me, certainly, and I spoke with the mayor just a few minutes ago, and it was very much a surprise to him as well.
Some welcome news, though, I expect.
Oh, absolutely welcome news for everybody, from economically to tourism to just the private citizen trying to travel between St. John and Digby.
So what kind of impact do you see as a result of this?
Well, I'm hoping it's going to be an increase in the economy, where we're trying to get some seafood to market as fast as we can. And they're dealing with tourism and as well tariffs that we're on again and off again. So it's difficult for them to try and budget these days, I would assume.
Well, how much of a deterrent do you think the old fares were?
I think they were more of a deterrent to tourism and people just traveling public. I think more than it's a deterrent to, of course, economically, but you can factor in those costs and figure out if it's going to be worth it to try and get your product to market via that route or not.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've got the annual Wharf Rat Rally Festival that comes up next month, I think. What could be the impact on their numbers?
Actually, we have a festival coming up at the beginning of August, the 50th anniversary of the Digby Scallop Days. And I just spoke with that group and gave them the good news, and they're tickled pink because they know that that's going to increase the numbers that are coming for that. And the Wharf Rat Rally, it's going to help them too. It's unfortunate that wasn't in time to help the Lobster Bash, which has already happened, but all three festivals would see an increase, I'm sure, from that.
You touched on the commercial traffic that uses the ferry. Besides seafood, what else comes across typically?
Seafood goes across quite a bit. There is, I don't know if it's as much of a factor these days, but pulp and paper used to have some transport trucks that used to go over. They would leave them at the wharf and they would be put on as trailers and picked up in St. John. So there might be a pickup in that traffic again, too. I'm not sure if they're planning on doing that or not, but that's certainly a possibility.
Well, when it comes to commercial goods, do you expect the savings they'll get on the fares might be passed on to consumers?
I don't know what their business model is to do that. I would think that they would try and make the most competitive pricing available to the consumer. I know it's been difficult for them because they've had to deal with taxes and ferries and transportation costs, and the price of fuel's up and down so much now that I don't know how you'd ever budget for that. But they've had struggles for sure, but I'm hoping that that'll help them a little bit and be able to at least give some of the savings to the consumer.
Now, any worries about where the lost revenue from the fares might have to come from?
Well, I would think that the government is still going to collect the gas tax. People are still traveling, and if there's an increase in ridership in the ferries, that's an increase in the gas tax that people are actually spending at the pump.
The ferry service, of course, has had its troubles recently. The service suspended last year for a refit.
Sure.
Do you see this kind of as a way of turning things around?
Well, I hope so. I think it's a bonus for Bay Ferries, who operates the ferries, who's always been wonderful corporate citizens to the town of Digby and partners in a lot of things that we've done. So it would be nice to think that that would help them and give them a boost too. I've spoken to 3 people already today who are planning to making trips to St. John.
All right, we'll have to see how it all plays out. Thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Coming up, United Nations debate the new push for a two-state solution for Israelis and Palestinians. And it's not summer without more summer victories. The young Canadian swimming phenom gets off to a golden start at the World Championships. Welcome back. The deadline for reaching a trade deal between Canada and the U.S. is days away. Mark Carney says trade negotiations with Washington are at an intense phase. The Prime Minister also says he won't settle for a deal unless it's good for Canadians. David Thurton reports.
In the birthplace of Confederation, Mark Carney spoke about how he's making a deal for Canada.
The assurance for Canadian business, for Canadians, is we will only sign a deal that's the right deal, that's a good deal for Canada.
The outcome is still uncertain, but the Prime Minister offered a glimpse into trade talks.
The negotiations are at an intense phase. It's a complex negotiation. You see with the various trade deals that have been agreed by other jurisdictions.
Carney's comments follow this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The head of the European Commission and the U.S. President signed a preliminary agreement, the European Union settling for a 15% tariff on most of its goods.
I knew it at the beginning, and it was indeed very tough, but we came to good conclusions for both sides.
This is probably the biggest deal ever reached in any capacity, trade or beyond trade.
The question now, what will Canada's deal look like, and will it resemble the others the U.S. has signed?
Important as we are in terms of trade numbers to the U.S., it's hard to see how, if Japan, Indonesia, the UK, the EU have all agreed to a baseline tariff, will somehow be exempt.
It is likely that that 15% will be considered by the Trump administration as almost a baseline tariff.
The Prime Minister, though, says Canada's trading relationship with the U.S. looks different.
So there are similarities, there are differences.
One notable difference, the extent the U.S. relies on Canada for its oil. We send them about 4 million barrels per day, a point of leverage, Carney suggested, as the trade deadline looms. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
There's a new diplomatic push today for greater peace and stability in the Middle East. A United Nations conference is reviving the concept of a two-state solution involving Israel and Palestine. The talks come as the war in Gaza nears the 22-month mark. Journalist Mitch McCann is following the developments from New York.
Foreign ministers and delegates gathered here at the UN in New York to discuss how to navigate and implement a two-state solution. That is, a Palestinian state alongside Israel living in peace in the Middle East. Now, working in this building, covering the UN, it's fair to say there are many conferences and summits that don't always lead to meaningful change. But the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres this morning underscored how important it is to him that something concrete steps come from this conference, especially at such a critical moment in the Middle East. Here is Antonio Guterres.
Today's conference is a rare and indispensable opportunity. We must ensure that it does not become another exercise in well-meaning rhetoric. It can and must serve as a decisive turning point, one that catalyzes irreversible progress towards ending the occupation and realizing our shared aspiration for a viable two-state solution.
The US continues, of course, to be a staunch supporter of Israel, and in a report from Reuters earlier today, they quoted the US State Department, which said this conference is, quote, a gift to Hamas, which continues to reject a ceasefire proposals accepted by Israel that would lead to the release of hostages and bring calm in Gaza. So the US is not on board, and Israel is not either. Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, said this conference does not promote a solution, but rather deepens the illusion. He said instead of demanding the release of hostages and working to dismantle Hamas, the conference organisers are engaging in discussions that are disconnected from reality. So Israel and the United States, the two nations that won't be involved in this. What cannot be overlooked here at this conference is that it comes at a very critical time, given what we are seeing right now in the Middle East and these images of starvation that have been broadcast around the world. Israel is certainly under a mountain of pressure here at the UN as many countries call for more aid to be delivered to Gaza immediately.
That's journalist Mitch McCann in New York. Well, Canada has announced it's adding $30 million to its humanitarian funding for Palestinians in Gaza and $10 million to help the Palestinian Authority to implement reforms to prepare for eventual statehood. Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to a ceasefire after days of cross-border violence. The leaders of two countries agreed to this agreement talks in Malaysia. The truce will go into effect at midnight local time At least 36 people have been killed and thousands have been displaced since last week when fighting escalated following months of tensions. The peace talks took place after U.S. President Donald Trump asked both nations to agree to a ceasefire as a precondition to their respective trade talks with Washington. A new report is exploring how virtual care is shaping healthcare access in British Columbia. The province has built a network of virtual medical services to try and improve access in rural and First Nations communities. Jennifer Yoon has the details.
The program is called Real-Time Virtual Support, and the idea is to connect rural doctors and nurses with their colleagues who might have more specialized interest and expertise in some areas of medicine. The program, which was done in British Columbia, has been getting more people using it year to year, according to a new report published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal. And that might mean a video call between the healthcare practitioner in rural British Columbia and somebody who is somewhere else in British Columbia. That might also mean really hands-on support. So for example, while a mom is giving birth, especially if a baby comes early before the mom has a chance to be flown south where there's a birthing unit at a hospital or a clinic, if the baby comes early, the doctor who is supporting virtually might be in the corner through an iPad, helping the nurse or the doctor who perhaps hasn't helped a mom give birth in a couple of years, helping that person bring that new baby into the world. Pediatrician Dr. Melissa Paquette is one of the doctors who helps support her colleagues in rural and remote British Columbia.
Delivering babies is more than just like catching them as they come out. Delivering babies involves the knowing what to do, what to watch for, what to check, what the steps are in supporting babies. So they did a lovely job. They called us really early to say, she's in labor. We aren't able to get her out as soon as possible. We've already notified the transport system, but she won't be able to leave our site until after she's had the baby.
It's an effort that's much needed in several parts of Canada, says Dr. Gavin Parker, who is the head of the Society of Rural Physicians of Canada. He says that this is a program that addresses how overstretched and under-resourced some of these communities can be when it comes to healthcare. But he says it doesn't quite address the root of the problem, the heart of the problem.
I think anything that provides better access to rural patients is an advantage. But I think what this study underlies is the fact that we are significantly understaffed in family medicine in the rural areas. It's a problem that's been going on for a long time, but it's been exacerbated in recent years.
Parker says that this program is like a lifeboat for many communities, but he says at some point we have to start addressing the causes of the staff shortages in rural Canada. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
Having a child via surrogacy in Canada is becoming more and more popular, but that hasn't made setting up the process simple, and the difficulties have many couples turning to social media. The CBC's Sarah Reed reports.
Brandon and Krista Ani never thought they'd be relying on social media to help them grow their family.
The social media thing, we toyed with it for a while, and then eventually we thought, well, there's just such a good opportunity to just put yourself out there.
So they did, after a medical complication during the birth of their son took away Krista's ability to have children and left the couple instead searching for a surrogate, a journey they've now been on for over a year.
As scary as social media is, we found it to be actually kind of a bit helpful in getting the story out and kind of just meeting folks. And so
yeah, like almost surprising how many people would reshare our story.
Yeah.
Do you know how much I love you?
It's a story shared by thousands of other couples across Canada whose options are social media or surrogacy agencies, which can be expensive and have several-year wait lists. It's why Dawn Wickhorse started her own company to help couples connect with surrogates online.
Social media gives an outlet of so many eyes that would not see you, would not know you, wouldn't come across your story in a million years otherwise. That's where potential surrogates are looking. They see your story and then they want to be involved in it.
And as a former surrogate herself, she has an idea of what other women are looking for.
Wow, I'm really, really helping these people. Like, surrogates need to feel that because, yeah, in Canada, we don't get paid to do it. It is all altruistic. So we need to feel that reason.
Those altruistic regulations in Canada can also put couples here at a disadvantage.
Canadian intended parents are not able to pay surrogates. They can only pay through reimbursement versus an international couple. They're able to pay a surrogate in addition to expenses.
It presents more challenges for couples like the Anis.
Our hopeful hearts, if there would be a miracle mom out there to help us, we're just excited to explore this journey.
Who remain hopeful that one day a surrogate will see their content and choose to give them the gift of growing their family. Sarah Reed, CBC News, Edmonton.
Tuktoyaktuk sits on the shore of the Arctic Ocean, and coastal erosion was threatening to slide it into the ocean. But an armor of rock and cement is now protecting the community and its people. The CBC's Juanita Taylor reports on the Great Wall of Tuk.
Slabs of concrete and massive boulders strategically placed along the shores of Tuktoyaktuk to protect the community from washing into the Beaufort Sea.
We're very confident that, this is going to hold and buy us time that we need to either continue to protect the community or relocate in the future.
Powerful storm waves and thawing permafrost are eroding the coastline by about 1 meter each year, forcing some to relocate their homes inland. The project is also aimed at protecting Tuk Island, the community's natural barrier from the Arctic Ocean.
It's super important that we had the barrier put up here so that we can mitigate at least the wave action and the storm surges that was washing the material out.
And so if Tuk Island were to ever get washed away, what would happen?
The harbor would become the ocean. I think catastrophic to the community.
The mayor calls it the Great Wall of Tuk, the first ever shoreline protection in Canada of this magnitude. At a cost of more than $50 million from the federal government, it's expected to last 30 years.
We covered essentially 2,000 meters of shoreline with rock.
The rock was quarried from Inuvik, roughly 150 kilometers away.
Approximately 200,000 tons of rock was brought in. So I think that the repreventment project really saved the community of Tuk.
Its completion was celebrated by the people of Tuk, including the Northwest Territories senator who grew up here.
It is a way of protecting not just our community, but our way of life, our culture, our lifestyle.
But the fight against climate change isn't over. Coastal erosion continues to impact other parts of the community. But for now, the people who call this place home are safe. Juanita Taylor, CBC News, Tuktoyaktuk, Northwest Territories.
Canadian swimming star Summer McIntosh has won her second gold medal at the World Championships in Singapore. She was the first to touch the wall in the 200-meter individual medley.
And Summer McIntosh is going to win it, and win it very, very well. It's Walsh in second place. McIntosh takes another gold medal for Canada.
The 18-year-old from Toronto came just shy of the world record she set last month in Victoria, BC. She clinched her first gold of the tournament at the 400-meter freestyle on Sunday. McIntosh hopes to become the second swimmer in history to win 5 solo titles at a single long course world championships. All of this after winning 3 gold medals in 4 individual events at the Paris Olympics last year. Canada's main stock index fell to open the week as gains in energy were offset by losses in metals and utilities, while U.S. markets were mixed. Here's a look at the markets as we head to break.
This weather update is brought to you by Access Wellness Nova Scotia. Book your appointment today for free, confidential mental wellness support.
We are all well rested after your lovely vacation.
Yeah, feeling good. Feeling good to be back to work. And the inbox was nicely filled up upon my return today.
That's an advantage, right?
That's definitely an advantage. It's been nice here across the province over the last couple of weeks. I'll have a look at today's entry of Ryan's picks at cbc.ca, and you can see into the Gaspro Valley, and this is such a great spot and a beautiful rainbow.
Gorgeous, end to end.
End to end.
Nice.
You don't often see them like this.
No,
and Kevin Carver with a terrific shot. Love the valley there in the distance.
Gorgeous.
And thanks to Kevin. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Thank you to everybody for contributing. Have a look at the forecast for tomorrow. Gaspro Valley, high 20s. Going to be really, really nice across the province for tomorrow. A sluggish start, I do think, with the fog patches and the clouds a little bit in the morning. Especially towards areas of the coastline, but we will mix out to a mostly sunny day. Temperatures in the high 20s, low 30s, as we said, feeling more like the low to mid 30s. Wednesday, another warm one, and a chance for some isolated showers and maybe a rumble of thunder into the afternoon, but more so into the evening across the north and east. That's going to be our best chance, but that frontal boundary is going to take its time, and there one little front that kind of fades out, not really bringing us much. And then for Tuesday evening, maybe a couple of isolated showers in the east. Wednesday, this is going to be a better chance, but even it doesn't look like it will amount to a whole lot. Thursday is our best chance to get some of that much needed wet weather. I think it'll be leaving us wanting, though. And as we look at the Friday, Saturday forecast, more shower chances, and we'll at least take that with some cooler temperatures. And it looks like the latter half of the weekend is going to be the winning part of the weekend if you're looking for the sun and the warm temps.
Sounds good. All right, thanks for that, Ryan. Well, a zoo in England has carried out a medical procedure on one of its residents. The procedure wasn't long, even though the patient was. Bashu, the giraffe, had been dealing with difficulty walking for some time. The cause turned out to be overgrown hooves. The nearly 5-meter-tall animal was put under general anesthesia while specialists worked on trimming those hooves.
They also had to attach 2 custom-made shoes using acrylic glue. The zoo says the father of 2 has made good progress since the procedure.
Good to see him back on his feet.
Yeah.
That is it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Take care.